tonight's occasion is at the Gap Theater again. Two Sean Connery movies. That's why I'm doing the Sean Connery impression there. The first was the Untouchables, and then the next one was Hunt for Red October. So, the Untouchables is a story of Prohibition and Al Capone, and I guess the other guy is Elliot Ness, Elliot Ness is played by Kevin Costner. De Niro was Capone, and then Sean Connery's character, I can't remember his name, but he was a policeman, worked a beat, doing a patrol by foot, and that's when Elliot Ness meets him and finds out he's a local cop that knows his stuff. He recruits Connery to help him as part of his group that he was trying to take down Capone's organization. So, the movie started out with Ness having a failed bust where they were, set up. Somebody got word that they're so they switched to the cases of liquor with a bunch of parasol umbrellas of all things. So Ness is made a fool of him, and so he recruits Connery. He recruits like another guy from the police force. This guy was still a police academy trainee, and then there was an accountant from the Treasury Department, just like Ness was, and the accountant knows how to read all of Al Capone's paperwork and such, and figure out how his organization is set up for all the different dummy companies and the people he works with. So, as the movie goes on, they make a few more busts, and then they get enough evidence where they could, think they could convict Capone on tax-related charges, and they obviously, I'm saying spoilers, but they end up killing the accountant, but also they killed somebody wants to pass me here. Okay, so they end up killing the accountant and Al Capone's bookkeeper. What it was is there was a bust that they did on the Canadian border where they surrounded a bunch of Capone's men, and they managed to capture the bookkeeper. So they bring Al Capone to trial, and there's a bunch of stuff happens, and Capone ends up getting convicted, and there's something that happens to Connery's character. I won't spoil that one, but so yeah, that was a good movie, The Untouchables, and the movie is famous for they have a train station scene with a large staircase. Ness was waiting for Capone's men with the bookkeeper because Capone was trying to get the guy out of town. Scene, I guess they were trying to go for like a battleship Potemkin, like sort of thing. Like there was this movie made in Russia about the Russian Revolution, about the Potemkin, and it had this famous scene with steps. So Untouchables was kind of going for that. As a result, the Untouchables got parodied by the police Squad Naked Gun franchise. So in Naked Gun 33 and the third, they parody the scene with they have Leslie Nielsen's character and his two partners. One's played by O.J. I don't know what the other guy's name was, but they make a comedy out of it. Like they have various different groups coming down the steps during the shootout. Like the Pope is being escorted down the steps. There's a bunch of disgruntled postal workers with submachine guns, and there's this like gardener landscaping guy like chasing his lawnmower down the steps. So, yeah, that movie's also good, worth watching. Next movie was The Hunt for an October. So it's a movie based on a Tom Clancy book, and the plot of it is Sean Connery plays this Soviet Lithuanian guy named Marco Ramius, and takes place. And Ramius is fed up with the way things are going, so him and most of his top officers are seriously considering defecting to the United States, and they're in a position to give the United States a Typhoon-class submarine, which is the largest and most advanced submarine of the Soviet Navy at the time. And what it is there's like early on in the movie, there's this political officer who's not in on the deal, and he's got he's got the official orders, and Ramus has like a bunch of phony orders that he's going to show his crew, and so he's, obviously this is going to be a bunch of spoilers, but in Ramus' captain's cabin, and they discuss, how the mission's going to start, and Sean Connery, Ramus, kills the political officer. Top officers are brought in along with the medical crew, and the chief medical officer is played by Tim Curry, and Sean Connery shows Tim Curry that he's removing the missile launch key from the corpse of the dead political officer, and like Tim Curry's thinking, oh, this is all weird, because Tim Curry's character is like the highest surviving, ranking officer that's not in on the conspiracy to defect. And the other top conspirator is a first officer who's also a captain. Like, if you go by the Soviet rank system, Ramus is Sean Connery's character is a 3-star captain. Sam Neill's character is a 2-star captain, and so he's his first officer, and he's in on the conspiracy, and after the political officer is killed, they have a secret meeting about what they're going to do, and the medical officer is kicked out of the meeting before they discuss the secret parts. Meanwhile, while this is going on, Alec Baldwin's character, Jack Ryan, is a CIA officer, and he's also a guy who served as a Marine, and he no longer actively serving as a Marine because of an injury he had in the past. He's serving in the CIA instead, and he's an analyst, he writes books, he knows a lot about these Soviet Navy guys, and research and he figures out that Sean Connery's boat, the Red October. Somebody's asking where am I at? I'm in the Poconos. I'm at where Route 33 meets Interstate 80. So anyhow, Alec Baldwin figures there's something up with this new Typhoon class submarine called the Red October. There's something very peculiar and interesting about it. So he's living in his family over in England, in the London area, and he's like, I gotta go to Washington D.C. and Virginia, and tell my boss at the CIA, show him what's going on. So,
there's smoke for a fracture. 1470 Elk County Intelligence Station T1 ALS respond 2353.
So anyhow, he flies over the U.S. to D.C. and he meets his boss, played by James Earl Jones. James Earl Jones is both an admiral and CIA apparently. And he shows James Earl Jones what's up with the submarine, that there's something weird about it, and
Matthews Drive, you have a 43-year-old male with a leg fracture. Alpha 49 and 73. I copy the speaker time.
So again, back to the Red October. So Jack Ryan was the main character of this Tom Clancy franchise. He tells James Earl Jones that he wants to show this information to a guy that he knows. This guy is a submarine mechanic and a submarine builder. So he goes to this naval yard and shows the submarine mechanic, what he thinks about it. And he's like, well, this is what's called a magnetohydrodynamic drive. And supposedly it makes a submarine run quietly. It's a propulsion system that runs more quietly than propellers. So Ryan's really interested about this, and while this is going on, they show there's a Soviet official or politician that Ramus is friends with, and this guy opens an envelope and finds out, Ramus wrote an outright letter that Ramus wants to defect. And back on the October, sorry, I'm chewing on a cough drop here. Ramus tells his crew about the letter he sent to the admiral or the Soviet official in Moscow. Was it Moscow or St. Petersburg? I want to say Moscow. And they're thinking, oh, he's nuts. It's hard enough for us to defect without telling the boss back in Moscow that we're going to defect. So now the whole Soviet Navy is going to be on top of us trying to sink us. So Jack Ryan is trying to figure out a way of tracking where the Red October is, and meanwhile, there's this, I guess it's a Los Angeles class submarine, a United States attack submarine. I think the name of the particular sub is called the Dallas. They are tracking where the scanner going off in the background. There's this sonar officer, or enlisted man, whatever he is, I don't know. Not going to be particular. The sonar guy is very good about his sonar work, and he is able to figure out where.
State of contact, everything appears normal.
Despite the Red October using the silent caterpillar drive, the magnetohydrodynamic drive to run silently, this guy is still good enough at his work where he's able to tell that that's not a natural phenomenon with the sonar. And like, what it is this guy's using what's called a passive sonar. So rather than sending out active sound waves, you're listening to actual sound, like, you know, in the environment in the background, and you're trying to differentiate what's made, like, you know, from a submarine or a surface ship from other things that may be underwater, like volcanoes, tectonic plates, like whales, dolphins, that sort of thing. So this guy figured out it's able to track it. And while this is all going on the Red October, there's this guy who appears to be a cook, but he's actually a KGB officer, and the KGB officer knows something's up. That, you know, the Red October is not following orders, so throughout the movie, he gets more suspicious, and he starts actively sabotaging the Red October. So, what eventually does happen at some point in the movie, the Red October, the Caterpillar drive does get sabotaged, and they go loud for a while, and then that's when the Soviet Navy that's trying to find the Red October, they're attacked like depth charges or airborne torpedoes. And while this is going on, Ryan wants to get on the Dallas submarine to track Red October. So as the movie goes on, basically the U.S. is trying to create a situation where the Red October senior officer crew could defect with the Red October intact. And what they want to do is stage an accident so that it looks like the Red October is sunk. So as the movie goes on, that sort of situation does happen, and one of the Soviet submarines that's trying to hunt for the defecting, Captain Ramus, they eventually do try firing on the Red October, but the Americans are able to help Ramus avoid the torpedoes of that submarine. Ramus creates a situation where him and his chief engineering officer fake a reactor meltdown or something of that nature, and he gets all his crew that's not part of the conspiracy off the ship. And from their perspective, they think Ramus is fighting the Americans, and they think Ramus is a hero of theirs. So Ramus, with the help of Jack Ryan and the captain of the one submarine, of the American submarine, and then the sonar officer, they all pilot Red October back to the United States, and they hide it up a river in Maine. And Sean Connery Randus is able to live out his life in the U.S. like he intended to effect. Some guy is an AI Frenchman. No, I'm not AI. It could be that I am breaking into a French accent at points. I do speak French. But yeah, I am now in Mount Pocono, Pennsylvania, on Route 380, and there is a resort next to me on the right here called Kalahari. It is, I'm sorry, my ears are popping from the altitude pressure. That's a water park and a hotel. And not only is the pressure low from the altitude, but there's a storm. I guess if you're on a submarine like the Red October, you'll probably be experiencing like crazy pressure changes too. But yeah, at this Gap Theater, there's a lot of Sean Connery movies that have been played recently, and you know, there's so. Last week I saw Never Say Never Again, which was Sean Connery's last James Bond movie. That movie wasn't produced by the normal creators of James Bond. It was Eon Productions. This was produced. They did a video last week on that. Yeah, so today they had Untouchables and Red October, and in the near future they have Diamonds Are Forever. Which Diamonds Are Forever was the last Bond film Connery did before Never Say Never Again. So Diamonds Are Forever is quote unquote, you know, last official Bond movie. And it was earlier in the year. Was it earlier in the year last year? It was earlier in the year. I saw Highlander, and Sean Connery was in that. Very good movie. If you like the band Queen, they did the soundtrack for that movie. At least like 2 or 3 notable songs from that. It's definitely a movie worth seeing. So yeah, it's just a bit of a ride to here. It's around an hour 10 minutes back to home. apparently they're associated with a nearby drive-in, and the drive-in. Okay, the thing disconnected for a second there. Yeah, so they're showing the first two Ghostbusters movies, and somebody has a Ghostbuster over there. I don't know if it's one of the originals or like a close reproduction, but it's one of those giant 50s Cadillacs with all the lights on it. And then what else is going on? I guess tomorrow is Kentucky Derby Day. I do try to watch that. I used to work in the horse racing industry. So it's a little weird speaking because despite the damn air, my voice is getting dry and the altitude is the air pressure and the storm creates low pressure too. But anyhow, yeah, tomorrow is Kentucky Derby Day, I believe. The local horse race track, Pocono Downs, they host an event. So they have their own racing. I used to work down there, not for Pocono Downs or Mohegan Sun itself, but I used to work for the TV production company there that does the TV work for the horse races called International Sound. So I did that for a few years. So I don't know what the exact situation is now, but typically they would have like some horse races before the Kentucky Derby, I think, and then they would have like some after. Now they could have changed that, but they just have them after. Yeah, they also have like ladies show up in their fancy outfits with hats and such. Yeah, so brings in a good crowd. I've known of some people who have actually gone down to Kentucky for the Derby, and I've never been there myself, but that's like really crowded and hectic from what I've heard. But yeah, horse tracks are interesting to work at. One of the things I did was on the front stretch of the horse track, there's the one I looked at was a 60-foot tower where on top there's an enclosed room with the TV camera in it. So I'd be working the TV camera, recording the horse races, and the walk up the tower, like the climbing up the ladders, is open to air. So if you have a night like tonight where it's pouring rain, yeah, it's not something everybody can do. It's daunting. So I got used to it. Despite doing that, I have a natural fear of heights. It's like, it's a good thing to have some fear of it rather than be completely fearless. But, yeah, there was this one summer where there was like a storm that produced like a tornado somewhere else, but we still got like the straight line winds and all the lightning from it, and the tower was rocking back and forth. The TV camera I'm using was on a pedestal, and the pedestal was metal, and the extension cord going to the camera had its ground pin broken off. Well, with that ground pin broken off, what was happening was somehow the camera was picking up a charge from the air. The air had, thunderstorms causing all this static in the air. And could actually feel like a little bit of a shock coming off of the camera. So eventually I did replace that cord. I bought like a surge protector with a long cord out of my own pocket and put it on there, and that solved the problem. But, yeah, I mean, heck of a view in that tower. And the other thing is like, when it was pouring rain like this, the rain would be trying to come through the bottom of the door. And the floor was plywood, and somebody had drilled like a few holes in it to like let the rainwater drip out. But I also did the camera at the winner's circle for a while, so I would be up on like a pedestal by the winner's circle during the race itself, following the horses around the track with the camera. And then when the race was all over, the winning horse would come into the winner's circle, and I would take the camera off the tripod, put it on my shoulder, and then like stand on the other side of the winner's circle, get a good view of the horse, and do that for a couple minutes, and put the camera back on the pedestal and wait for the next race and start all over, do the same thing again. And I had also, there's another set of cameras behind, you could call it a grandstand, but the grandstand there wasn't as grand as it was before. Like, they had remodeled the racetrack at some point, and it lost seating, so I wasn't there when it was set up the old way. I was like a newcomer or a latecomer, you know, for that. So, but yeah, I may have done like a couple of races from there, but I did do what's called the party on the patio at least once, I think, once or twice maybe. That's where there's a patio right next to the horse track, and during the summer they have concerts. I think it was typically on Wednesday, was it? And you get a video of the band, and I guess some video of the crowds. The other camera I worked was what's called a photo finish camera. And what that is it's like a really long exposure camera, I guess you could call it, where it gets the horses as they're going across the finish line, and it gets every detail as like, it's multiple, like, I guess you could say multiple shots or like long exposure to piece together one image that shows great detail of which horses are going across the line. So I did that for a while. That was neat. Then the other thing I was doing there was they have like a betting lounge area, like, and then they also, it's like a small cafeteria area too, where people will watch other horse tracks and our horse track on the TV. Be able to bet on, like, 20 tracks at once, because there'd be like the TVs were set up like you could say were like different things. So like the better tracks would be showing on more TVs, and like the ones people didn't care about much, they'd be showing on like fewer TVs. So there might be like tracks that the odds and the payouts weren't that great. Like they'd only be showing on one TV or something. And how that was run, at least at the time I was there, was there was an in-house cable TV system. So what we would have would be like we get video of the different horse tracks on like a regular satellite TV receiver. But then we would, it was like basically our own little in-house cable company. So I forget how many channels we had. I don't know. Let's just say it was like. Okay, yeah, speaking of signals, I just lost my phone signal there. So I'll get back. The satellite signal would go through these cable TV modulators. And modulators are just basically RF modulators like you have for like a video game system. So if you had like something like a Super Nintendo or a PlayStation, a lot of them, you get like an RF modulator, and you have a switch to set it to like channel 3 or 4. Well, these cable modulators, more than just channel 3 or 4, they do like channel 2 to like 120 or something. So certain models are like a fixed channel, so you get like one modulator could be set, like fixed to channel 16, or another one fixed to 54 or whatnot. But then there was other ones that had like a little button on them that you could, change the channel on it, so you could, send in the input video. I forget which format, whether it was RF or composite or whatever. But the output would be like at the time we were just doing analog TV, so it would be NTSC analog cable, so it would just be cable wire, and it would be distributed to all these different TVs that were downstairs from us and in the other rooms, and there would be, obviously long lengths of cable wire and cable splitters and amplifiers, that sort of thing. And the other thing you could do is we had an iPad that would control changing the TV channels in like the viewing lounge area. So what they had was like a little TV remote RF blaster that would be like, like taped with adhesive to the TV's sensor that would, sense the flash from the remote. Well, these were wired flashers that were, connected to like internet, Ethernet, and it could be controlled by the iPad. And on the iPad, you could, select like, like one track could be on, like 5 TVs, another track would be on like 10 TVs, and it'd be like, different patterns, of TVs based on different viewing area. But yeah, that was a fun place to work. Yeah, this weather's something. Lots of rain. I watched some other YouTubers that are storm chasers. And this is some of them, yeah, they get tornadoes on their footage. I've been close to tornadoes myself, but I don't have like video of them. I don't believe I do. One of my cars, one year, got hail damage from a storm after the tornado. And then there was an apartment building I used to live up in Massachusetts. This was after I lived there. That building was hit by a small tornado. I wonder if that's meaningful road construction, or like, are they gonna get anything accomplished? I didn't get to see what exactly they're working on there. This past week I had traveled to Washington, D.C. I wanted to see if I could see King Charles, and I obviously didn't see him close up, but I may have seen him in the distance, like, not him, but his motorcade. I was going through the park, somewhere by, the Vietnam Memorial, the Lincoln Monument, or the Jefferson, Monument. Somewhere around there, I did see a motorcade go across the Potomac, so that could have been his. I don't know, but I did end up seeing. I guess it would be J.D. Vance's motorcade choice based on the flag that was on the fender of the car. The white flag with the American eagle and like a few stars on it. So I want to say that was the vice president's flag. I saw that motorcade twice. Unfortunately, they don't let you get close to the White House. They're like overloaded with security. Like, they got in the one direction, like they got the whole park closed off, so it's like closed off for like a 2-3 block distance. And then the rest of it, like most of it closed off for a block. And the closest place you can get to is like around back of the White House. They have like a tall fence built behind the normal fence, so you can see some of the back of the White House was there. The only way you see the front of the White House is you're almost at the Washington Monument, and it's very, very far in the distance. I hadn't been to Washington, D.C. in years, and even then, like years ago, I did not see that much. So this year, I got to see mostly the attractions. Not most of them, but a bunch of things. Like I said, Washington Monument, the Lincoln and Jefferson monuments, the Vietnam and World War II memorials, and then saying a lot. I got to see the FBI headquarters, J. Edgar Hoover building, I believe it's called, which I'm a big fan of the X-Files, so they have the like establishing shots of the interior on the show. Exterior, I should say.
Riding up that and my partner closed the call on the line. Looks like it's out of our jurisdiction now.
Well, it's a good thing I didn't go that way. But yeah, so I got to see the outside of the FBI building. It's interesting architecturally.
Area 15.
Okay, I guess I'm not reaching him. So, yeah, I got to see it. I parked at the train station. I forget the name of the station. I want to say it's Union Station, but I may be wrong. The architecture of the station, at least on the inside, is very nice. Like, obviously the parking garage is modern, but you get to like the main area of the station. Fancy marble work like on the stairs and such. And from there, I either did walking or they have line rental bikes. The interesting thing with the line bikes is they also have them in over in Europe, like in Paris and Berlin. But the ones in Paris and Berlin are the same as each other now. Paris doesn't typically have the stand-up scooters, Berlin does. But the bikes over there on the handlebars, they have two bells. Well, the U.S. version of the Line bike is a little bit different, at least in Washington, D.C. Instead of having the second bell on the U.S. one, they have a accelerator lever. And the other thing is there's a bike lock built into the bike that they insist you use, but not all their designated parking areas have places to lock it. So I don't know what exactly they expect you to do. Like, oh, there's another bike there to lock it to. Then you wouldn't be able to use the other bike. I don't know what they want you to do, or maybe you want to lock it in the wheel of that individual bike. So, the other funny thing is, I don't know if they did it for all Line bikes around the world, or, you know, like if this is something new, or if it's just for the US version, but they want to take your picture and see if you look like you're 18 or older. They want to do it like every time that you start using a bike, which it's time consuming. Like, I don't remember having to do that in Paris or Berlin. But yeah, I got to see I went to see the Capitol first. I saw J.D. Vance's motorcade go there early on. I got pictures of the Capitol and the Supreme Court, and one phone, the battery was going, so I went down the other phone, and I headed back towards the White House, and J.D. Vance's motorcade was going by again, headed into the White House, and then I walked like the perimeter around the White House, you know, where they allow the public to walk. And then I saw a few of like the fancy buildings of the White House. From there, got the picture as close as I could to the front, and then, like I said, I went to the Washington Monument first, then the World War II Memorial, then the Vietnam Memorial, then the, you know, like the Lincoln Monument. I got to see it. Reflecting pool without water. They're in the process of painting the bottom of the pool blue. So they only had a small area painted. And then afterwards I went through this park. It's like a mile between the Lincoln Memorial and the Jefferson one. And I walked part of the way, and it's like, this is taking too long, so I got another Line bike and bike to the Jefferson Memorial. Saw that there's like a small little lake behind it that feeds into the Potomac, and that looks pretty neat. It looks like they have something like pedal boats to go out on the lake sometimes, but they weren't open at that time of day. From there, I went to the FBI building to get pictures of that, and on the way I saw other neat buildings. Like, I saw the Treasury building, and I saw the Department of Justice. Like, the FBI used to be housed in the Department of Justice building during J. Edgar Hoover's days, and then I guess I don't know when the building was built. Was it 1970s or something? The new FBI building was put in, and so you watch the X-Files, and you could see that they, establishing shots. They got a row of flags on the building, like they're, different U.S. flags, of the United States, not the states themselves, but I was curious if those flags were still there because I'm interested in flags, vexillology, that thing, and yeah, they're still there. I mean, they still got flags there. So afterwards, I was hungry. I stopped in the local subway. But yeah, DC is very interesting. It's not a whole lot like other American cities. I'd say like the general like atmosphere of like walking through it. It's kind of comparable to Boston and like New York, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh. They all have like a different feel to them. Yeah, I was only there for like a day. I just drove down and drove back or whatever. And good weather, was slightly chilly. It rained a little bit early in the day, but good weather otherwise. It wasn't raining like this at all at night. At least not until very late. But, yeah. So that's it for now. I'm gonna hang it up. Well, good night, everybody.